Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner. We are having a conversation with Archbishop Jason Gordon. Now, we know it's been a rough week. Now, he's calling, there's a call, extreme generosity to lessen COVID-19's impact. How can we, that's the question, how can we survive COVID-19?
Well, you know, surviving COVID-19 will happen only through extreme generosity from every citizen of this country. And it's going to call us to that. Because if we want to be selfish and defy what the government is asking and go out and congregate and mix and mingle, we would then create a problem, and the pandemic will be far more vicious than it has been. If you see our numbers, have been relatively slow by comparison, but still it's a lot. But how do we survive? We will flourish, but it will require some discipline at the very heart of the Trinbagonian. You know how we love discipline, eh?
But that's my question here.
You know how we love discipline, eh? You know, discipline and us, oh God, is like ring and finger. it's like hand and glove.
Are you sure you're talking about Trinis?
Yeah, man, hand and glove, ring and finger is the thing that is so co-natured to us that, man, the rest of the world in trouble. But we know how to do this discipline thing just well.
Now you know people having COVID limes, COVID parties, that kind of thing.
So I'm being a little bit on the sarcastic side here.
But
it will require extreme generosity of every citizen, young, old, rich, poor, black, white, Chinese, East Indian, wherever you are. Every one of us has to step up to the plate now, and we have to grow up. This is calling for a kind of growing up that Trinidad hasn't seen for a very long time. We are accustomed to doing what we want to do, when we want to do it, how we want to do it, mash up the place if we want to mash up the place, defy the rules if we want to defy the rules, and expect that we will escape everything. This COVID-19 is calling on Trinidad and Tobago to grow up, and to grow up real quickly. We've been asked to curtail our activities. We have to do it. There's no question now, you know. We have to do it. Because you might say, well, you okay, but you might be okay. But you now come and you give me something, I'm not okay. I die. That's on you. That's why extreme generosity is how we will be coping with this. Only extreme generosity will get us through this as a nation. And through extreme generosity, we will rebuild and emerge a far better people. Extreme generosity is the watchword of the day. What's the watchword?
Extreme generosity. Yeah.
Because it's a call of the gospel, and it must be our mantra, and it must be our mandate. Because generosity begins by recognizing that my activities have an impact upon you. You know, the South African have the Ubuntu. You know, I am because we are.
Yes.
That's where we have to go, you know. I am because we are. This I and this selfishness, and this I at the center of everything. This has to go, you know. That's extreme selfishness. The counterbalance or the antidote to extreme selfishness
There's extreme
Extreme generosity. And that's why I'm starting with extreme generosity, because if I'm extremely generous, then I will do whatever will be good for the good of everyone. As opposed to what I like, what I feel like doing, what I want to do, and what makes me feel nice. That's what we have to put aside right now.
Do you think the regular man in the street,
that's why I say,
really
that's why I say it has to become our mantra and our mandate. Every pulpit, every radio station, everybody has to be singing off a one hymn tune, one sheet that's saying extreme generosity, stop the selfishness, and now start thinking for your brother. You have to become your brother and your sister's neighbor. You have to become their keeper. You have to become for them. And you have to start acting now, not what you like, what's good for everybody. And what's good for everybody is that everybody locks themselves down, curtails their activities, brings it right down to bare minimum, and stops the commingling, the cohabitating, stops the
linemen,
the
20 linemen,
the corona parties. We have to realize that one of the videos I saw this week, and they have some amazing videos out, number 31. Don't know if you saw number 31. Number 31 was the 31st case in South Korea. Up until number 31, they had it under wraps.
Yes.
They had it really under wraps. Yeah. But with number 31 decided they above the law. So they had the virus and didn't know. They went to church. They went to a buffet. They went to a doctor's office. They went back to church a second time. They went to a shopping mall. They went out in public. And number 31 by herself caused 1,200 infected people. That one person created 1,200 infected people. Now that is extreme selfishness. Because they were already locking down. They were already saying, no, stay out. If you have this, stop. But no, number 31 went, and 1,200 people infected from and that's primary infections.
Primary infections.
After that, the 1,200 would have infected another 2.5.
Yes.
And that's how it goes,
Yes.
That's why we have to keep the primary infections down to absolute minimum. And then the secondaries will never get out of hand.
Yeah.
But once the primary infections go, the next wave, so after 1,200, from one person, the next wave, you're talking about 3,000 in the next wave. So when you get out 3,000, that's 3,000 plus 12,
Yeah.
Plus 1.
Yeah.
Okay? So that person, talking about 4,000 something people infected
by that one person.
So extreme generosity starts with me becoming selfless for the sake of all of us in Trinidad and Tobago recovering from COVID-19. That's where we started. We're growing up big time, and we started now to think not about what I want for me, but we have to start to think about what is good for you, for my neighbor, for my brother, for my sister, for the community, and for the nation. We have to change the script. And changing the script is the one thing that this nation would benefit from, because if we learn nothing else from COVID-19 is that we are no longer able to do what we want to do, when we want to do it, and how we want to do it. There are limits, there are consequences, there are rules, there are regulations, and we have to live within this. And that's the message I have tonight. It's a simple message, Yeah. Grow up, take responsibility, be extremely generous. We could end the show there because I think everything I need to say, I just summed it up right there.
I just want to add, because a lot of the people outside, now you talked about being extremely generous to our brothers, our sisters, but I want you all to be just think about it, young people. What about mommy? What about granny? but our granddad. Those are
Yes.
the ones that are so vulnerable.
And the thing is, when a young person says, well, that ain't affecting me, I'm not going to die, so if I get it, it's no big thing. I agree with you. But then find yourself isolated away from granny, you know. Don't go and hug up granny, don't go and see granny, and don't go in the same room with granny. Because if granny gets COVID-19, you might recover, but granny may not.
That's right.
Like my mom, we have her on lockdown.
Yeah.
So I go and I stand up outside the door.
God,
She in the gallery, I outside in the driveway, and we talk.
Yeah.
Because I want to see her face and I want her to see my face.
Right.
So we stand up there and we talk.
Yeah.
So that when I'm not going inside there, because if she gets COVID-19, then that's a whole other drama than if I have it.
Yeah.
And so we have to be extremely generous and we have to be extremely responsible. And these two to me go hand in hand. It's a mandate and it has to become our watchword.
Well, what we know at the time of you writing
this thing is changing
just
so quickly. You know?
blew up.
What was the date this was written? Boy, this was the last week.
22nd.
Yeah, this was the last. No, this week. No, last
week. You just talking about 22nd. 1 week ago.
1 week.
Right?
1 week.
At the time of you writing this, we had 7 confirmed cases in Trinidad.
Yes.
7.
Yeah. And
Today, the 26th, we have 61 confirmed
cases
and 1 person died.
And 1 death.
1 death.
From 7 on the 22nd to 61 and a death 1 week later.
But I think it was like the 12th. And then it shot up. But it's kind of crazy. We are on 61 confirmed cases and we've had our first mortality.
Yes. And that's amazing. That's amazing. The latest research shows that the virus can survive in the air for 3 to 8 hours. At first they said it couldn't. Then World Health Organization came out the day before I wrote this article saying, wow, this virus is airborne. Because the particles are lighter than the air. They affix themselves to dust particles in the air. And because they affix themselves to dust particles in the air, they float around in the air. And if you're in an air conditioned room, they go into the air conditioning and come back out, and they could be active for 3 to 8 hours, they're saying. So that changes the whole state of play, you know. Because if it is in the air, then an air-conditioned room like this could contain particles. If somebody came in with COVID, sneezed, and that went up into the air, that remains for 6 to 8 hours, 3 to 8 hours, they would say.
And that is why, you know, I want to see this outside there, guys, for fellas traveling, public transport, maxi taxis, you're keeping on your air condition, you're killing people. You could actually kill people. I heard on the news where some of the passengers told the maxi taxi operator, please open your window. He said, no, I leave my air conditioner on. And everybody got out the maxi taxi.
Good.
Everybody.
Extreme generosity. Grow up.
Grow up. Yes.
Grow up.
He said, no, I'm feeling too hot. I'm keeping on my air conditioner.
Go by yourself.
Everybody got out the maxi taxi.
Go by yourself.
And I think that people have to
we have to expect of each other a growing up that we have not seen in this country for a long time. We have to expect it of each other. And those, they were right. Because if you're in an air condition, it's different from if you're in an environment with air flowing through all the time, because the particles wouldn't settle. They would just go.
Crazy. We know that by the time we begin detecting person-to-person contact, we already have a viral situation way beyond the capacity of the health system.
We know that.
And we're seeing health systems, Archbishop J, failing all over the world.
All over. Italy. Italy has failed. New York. Failed. Many states are failing. Because if you don't do the lockdown and suppression early, by the time you say, well, we now have 1 case of person to person, that 1 case, if it's like case 31, that's 1,200, huh?
Right.
But if it's even moderate, and that gives you 3 cases, those 3 going to give you 7, 8 cases, and those going to multiply again.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that we're having. This little beast is viral, and it's so potent, and it spreads so quickly.
They say the rate of infection is rapid and increasing constantly, and countries where drastic measures were taken have flattened the curve.
If you look at Japan, Singapore,
Yeah.
Japan and Singapore are way below everybody else.
Yeah.
Why? Because when it came out in Japan, when it came out in Singapore, they say, see this? Lockdown. Lock it down. They lock down everything. And by locking it down early, rather than going up into a spike, they lock it down early so it just kind of curved out. When you don't lock down early, it goes up into a spike, and then you overwhelm your health systems. When you send it into the curve, it isn't that you might have less cases overall, but it is that you have those cases in a more timely way, that you can actually have the resources to deal with your cases.
Right.
Because you slow it down.
Yeah.
So having slowed it down, your health system now can keep up. But when you don't slow it down and it does that, once you get one person more than you have a bed, a respirator, medicine,
You're in deep trouble.
or a doctor,
You're in deep trouble.
you're now gone into a crisis mode that you can't cope with, and that's what you don't want.
Yeah.
Lock it down.
Yeah.
Keep it tight.
Let's go back to March the 12th. I remember the March the 12th. On Thursday, March the 12th, with
Okay, yes.
110 tests done, we had 7 confirmed cases. Now, this is your writing,
Yeah.
right? March the 12th, we had our first. 5 days later, we were up to 7 cases. So 12 plus 5, 17. We were up to 7 cases. As of today, the 26th of March, 61 cases. Boom. Right?
That's 2 weeks. We are now 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks later than when we
And these are the
2 weeks.
confirmed
We've gone from 7 to 61.
And as it confirmed.
But we're not testing enough to really know what the actual is.
Right.
So one of the papers I read said, they have 2 graphs you have to keep your eye on. One graph is what you know, and in the graph that is really more dangerous is what you don't know. Because if, for instance, you have 61 confirmed cases, and you only have 10 or 15 cases, person-to-person transmission in the community going, then you don't have a major problem, because you can keep that under wraps if you're locking down. But if you have 61 confirmed cases, but what you really have out there is another 1,000 cases that you don't know about, that's where the problem is, and that's where the locking down is vital. Because at this moment, we know 61, we don't know what we don't know. You lock it down, you slow down the transmission of what you don't know, and that is how you get ahead of the curve. And that's why the government has done some very wise, prudent measures in the way they've done it incrementally, but very decisive, very clear consequences, very clear expectations. So by next week, when we go to a real lockdown, people have had this gradual march towards that, and now we go to the next stage.
Now, what we are seeing is an accelerating situation.
Boy, it's amazing, eh? So I'm glad I put it by the time of this writing in my article. Otherwise, we don't think this is now.
Yeah.
We're talking 14 days.
Yeah.
We've gone from, well, let's say on March the
12th. Before. Right.
March the 13th
Yeah.
was when we decided, when we issued the first edict
Yeah.
of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Then after that is the next one. On the 14th, we had our second where we closed everything off.
Right.
And then actually this one wouldn't be the 12th, this one would be like the 16th.
Right.
This was written. And then after the 16th then, now in the last week, we've gone to the next stage. By next week, we'll be locked down. And this is a progression, and the acceleration, you can see it. Over a 2 week, from the 13th was when the government did their first announcement, and we did our first announcement on the same evening. The next day, we did our second announcement, the 14th. So from the 14th till the 26th, it's 12 days, and look how much has happened in these 12 days.
Yeah. I think
And look at the acceleration.
restraint, you said restraint and sacrifice. Restraint and sacrifice.
That's it.
The social impact, social distancing in its extreme forms can negatively impact relationships.
You know, it can.
I've been getting calls,
Yeah.
especially from the elderly.
Yes.
I've been getting calls from the elderly.
Yes. Because we might have, and that's why I don't like the term social distancing.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I like physical distancing.
Yeah.
Because it's really physical distancing we need to do. We don't have to do social distancing. Not today. Because you could WhatsApp, you could FaceTime, you could, video call, you could old technology, telephone, real old technology. You could go to the house, stand up outside in the driveway, let them sit inside far from you, and actually have a conversation. That's real old technology. There are plenty of things we can do to ensure that we're not isolating the elderly who feel isolated already. So how do we ensure that we keep the distance, the physical distances, without doing a social isolation of people? And that's really the big question that we have to answer. And that's where extreme generosity is really important. Who is the neighbor you have in your neighborhood where you know that person really is in need, or don't have anybody that really goes to check them? Right. Who's that neighbor? Do you have their phone number? And if you have their phone number, would you call them once a day? 3 minutes? How are you doing? Everything all right? And you need anything? What's your day like today? That's it, And that's all that a person will need to keep them going. Because you see, before they might go to the shop every day, or they might go to the church every day and meet people in the morning at church, meet people in the shop, and they would have their own network based on the activities they would have been doing. Now there's no network, there's no activities, and there's no interconnection. So we have to find who are the vulnerable people in our communities, who are the lonely people in our communities, who's living in your neighborhood that has nobody looking in on them, and how can you be that good neighbor to that person? That's what we're talking about with extreme generosity.
And we're living in a place, especially in around the towns and the villages, where your neighbor is so close, they're just over a fence.
Yeah.
So if everybody would talk to their neighbor over the fence,
then you're good.
We're good to go.
Everybody has somebody to talk to.
Yeah. So the many vulnerable persons, the infirm, the elderly, and the elderly are now particularly vulnerable to isolation. You spoke about your mom.
Yeah.
Right? And you said, I can't go in and see her, but you can bring food for her.
Yeah. Well, man, I was in Marcy stores on Sunday. Because when I called her, they had a few things that so I went. I didn't go in there. Pass it through the gate. Or to open the gate and step back.
Yeah.
And then I rested it inside, pushed the gate back. She stepped away. She locked it and took it up.
Are we thinking Trinidad and Tobago? Archbishop Jay is asking us to be extremely generous. Do you know your neighbor over the wall? Do you know if they need anything? So many people have lost their jobs.
Yes. That's the other piece of the drama we haven't touched on. Yeah. Now again, the government has done really well in saying, okay, we know everybody's going to be hurting. We're going to give you something for rent. We're going to give you something for food. We're going to have to hold on to that. We're going to tell the banks, don't forfeit or foreclose. Kick the can down the road for a couple of months. Yeah. We're going to have to tell the landlords, please hold your hand. So we've done a great job in telling the nation what is expected to help out people who are now in dire situations that they didn't expect or anticipate. And everybody is going to be felt, because if the landlord holding his hand, the landlord is going to feel the pinch. Yeah. And he might have a mortgage, or she might have a mortgage on the property. So it's going to knock on in many directions. These are the things where we have to be really vigilant, and we have to make sure no one gets left behind. We're creating a network through our parishes to try and ensure we try to reach the most vulnerable people and communities, so that we will have a number, an email, we'll have all kinds of things set up, so that if you know of a vulnerable person, or if you are a vulnerable person, you can call in, you can email, you can send a message in, so that we can start to help people at a community to community level and start to get communities involved in looking out for who is most vulnerable, and ensure that the communities also take care of each other.
In families where the relationships have not been good, I mean, they have those,
Nah.
you know,
Nah.
where husband and wife and talking to each other,
Nah.
brothers and sisters fighting,
Living in one house, you know.
living in one house.
And now that house real small now, you know.
Yeah.
Because all the time you're slipping into sleep and going back out.
Right.
Now it's not no slip in or slip out, you know. It's right there you is.
You know what you call it? That's a confined space.
Well, it's either heaven or hell.
So what do we do?
Well,
Quarantine, you talk about quarantine may have a serious impact on mental health.
yes. And we have to be conscious of that too. And so if you know, if you are in that kind of situation, reach out to a good friend. And talk to a good friend, so that you have a running dialogue with somebody who you can speak about, so you're not bottling it up.
Yeah.
But what about parents or a single parent with 2 or 3 or 4 teenage children? What about that?
Listen.
That's a confined space.
Yeah, listen, they fight on the best of times.
But we don't have them long together the best of times.
Right.
Because even like the July, August holidays, this one on that camp, this one going to this one that, no, you can't leave.
Yeah.
You're there. So we have to give support to people, but we also have to say to people, create a rhythm in your day. Create a rhythm in your day. You wake up, you bathe, you put on some clothes, you pray, you sit down, you might have a meal together, you share a prayer together.
So you want them to have a structured day.
Have a structured day. So that even if the day doesn't have many activities, it must still have nodal points where you can count on it, because otherwise what happens is one moment flows into the next, the night comes and nobody has done anything for the entire day. And it feels, that starts to feel like an inner heaviness.
Right.
Structure your day. You have a time to wake up, you bathe, you eat meals together, you pray together a couple times in the day, you check in with each other a couple times in the day. You have periods where you're doing your work, periods where you're up on your own, periods where you're back together. Structure the day in a way that would allow maximum interaction, maximum space,
Right.
and productive activities in between.
You know,
And limit the amount of social media you're consuming. Limit the news you're consuming.
Yes. I
Because
wanted to
the
say that.
social media and the news
Good.
cycle are turning people into paranoia.
Good.
And you have to start limiting your... So you turn on once per day, and you check out international news. You turn on once per day, you check out local news, and limit it. If there is an address by the government, you tune in and you see it, or you go back after and you look at it, but you limit your consumption of news, because there are a lot of people, 24
Guilty.
a day,
Guilty.
cling,
Guilty.
and that, they have nothing to tip you in your equilibrium than reading negativity, seeing negativity, and hearing negativity all day. Nothing to tip you. On Saturday, I disconnected.
You did?
I had to disconnect. Last week, I dived in real deep, because I had to understand what this thing was about. I had to understand the science, the implications. I had to work out some scenarios for the church. Is this going to be a 2 weeks business, a 3 months business, a 1 year business? What are we going to do? How are we going to have church? How are we going to do ministry in this? I have to think what's my worst case. So I dive deep in to understand. And by Saturday, which was 1 week later, I disconnected. And I've been selecting what I'm going in and out of, because I have to keep my head clear now for the leading of the church, for the leading of people, and for the spiritual uplifting of people as I celebrate Mass, as I pray with and for people, as I ensure that we have everything that we need as church to do the kind of mission, ministry, and response that is required for the nation. And so I did last week totally different from how I've done this week. Totally different. This week I'm checking in and out real quick. And I'm not staying in it till all hours trying to understand. Because once I understand it, I know the science is changing. But as it changes, you just keep up quickly. But you don't have to be there every hour on it.
I fell into the trap, and I just want to share this with the public. Archbishop J is saying limit it. I fell into the trap of wanting to get all the news. So I'll switch from TV6 to TTT, I'll switch, go on to BBC, go on to CNN, just to hear what's happening. And you know what happened? I found it was affecting my psychology. It was also affecting my prayer life.
Yes,
it was affecting my prayer life.
Your whole horizon shrinks in.
Yeah.
And it becomes addictive. And you feel, no, if I don't tune in, I'll miss out something.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Not much vital is happening.
Yes.
Get the basic facts right. And once you have the basic facts right, then you tune in and out so you pick up with the latest updates.
I think tell them in the camera, watch them in the face and tell them, because they
get
people
the
like
basic facts right, and then tune in and out to pick up with the updates every day. Do not spend 24 hours a day chasing the latest news, the latest headline, the latest update, the latest international, local, regional thing. It will change your psyche. It will turn you in on yourself. It will give you a grim outlook in life, and you will not be able to then really help other people to go through this with hope, joy, and a sense of calm.
Amen.
You have to disengage from it at a certain
Amen.
point, because it is an addictive behavior to keep checking, because you keep believing you might be missing something. You're not missing nothing. You're not missing anything. It's not changing that quick. It's changing now at the rate of a day. One day. Mm-hmm. That's the cycle now.
Yeah.
Every day is changing now. So what you need to do is check in once a day. Just check in. Check one of the news. Whichever is your favorite news channel, you check that news. You listen to that, you pick it up, you say, all right, good. Newspaper in the morning. You read the newspaper. But limit it. Because I've seen in myself how I had to just disengage on Saturday. I disengaged, spent the weekend doing it differently, and then came back into it Monday, not doing it the way I did it last week. Because there's so many other things that I have to do that I have to be free. My mind and my heart have to be free for the big things that I have to get involved in.
In your article, you said, my advice, structure the day.
Absolutely.
Have times for prayer and eating together.
Yes.
Times for family, liming, and play.
And play is so important. Play, I want to stress that. Family play is something that has gone out of the window 20 years ago.
Right.
A little Monopoly, what's wrong with that? A little drafts. This is when you take Concork, put it and mark out on a little table on a piece of paper, and you create a little board, and you start doing
checkers.
You could do checkers, you could do drafts, you could do Hoff, you could do all kind of things, card games. This is it. But play is a secret. Because if a family can pray together, can play together, can eat together, and have fun together while doing whatever else they're doing, the family will grow in this time with a bond that will be just sweet.
Amen.
But we have to have the play in there. But I want you to have times of family prayer. And I know that went out the window long ago.
We have a fabulous time now.
Let's bring it back in now.
Yeah.
A time of family prayer. And ritualize it so that it becomes predictable. One lady told me, she said, when we doing Mass now, like on a Sunday Mass, we set up an altar. We have the Virgin Mary, we have the Sacred Heart there, we have candles, and the television is there. And she said her son came down, and the father was sitting down in his seat where he sit last time. So he quarreled and he said, well, we don't own pews anymore.
like that one.
See, we don't, nobody own a pew. If you want a pew, come down to mass early.
Nice.
Another time he told her, Mommy, you can't go to church looking like that.
Change.
So they're having
lovely.
fun, great banter, ritual, but the ritual is they're coming together for the celebration of the Mass. And that's so beautiful. And that's the kind of thing I'm recommending for families. It must be predictable. The rosary, reading the scripture, Christian meditation, the examen. These are the prayers that if we ritualize it now as a family, with all this time that we have, what will happen is we'll come out of this on the other side of it in a very different way. Yeah. And I really want to ask you, please, structure your day and punctuate that day with some prayer. Don't make it heavy, but just punctuate it with some prayer. You know, I have been doing Christian meditation with young people for this whole year. I've gone into the government schools, not our Catholic schools, government schools. I've had up to 500 kids in one space and set the timer for 5 minutes. And at the end of 5 minutes, bong, and you'd see a child open their eye and close back their eye and continue meditating. And I've seen children going up to 7, 8, and 9 minutes meditating. That's 3 to 4 minutes after the bell has gone. Yeah. Children long for that silence. Yeah. They don't know it, and we don't understand it, and I expect it of them. And each time I've done it, the silence has been absolutely profound and magical. And if you want to know where to get the resource, simple. WCCM. There's an app for that. WCCM, World Community of Christian Meditation. There's an app. And the app will give you the timer. The app will give you the prayer before. It'll give you some little lessons, a little history. Or go to the website and you could read up. It's 3 things you need to know. First, you sit down in your chair with your back upright. Second, you notice your breath. Just notice. Don't force it up or down. Just notice your breath. And as you start noticing the breath, you say the word. And the word is Maranatha. And that word is an Aramaic word, which means come, Lord. Maranatha.
Amen.
It's as simple as that. Yeah. Breathe in. Maranatha. And that simple act of prayer will settle the kids in a most amazing way. And do it with them. Don't supervise. Pray it with them. And you'll see something happening in the family. Are you opening for calls today, boy?
Yeah, I think it's time for us to go. Good night, everybody. We know you want to call in. This is live. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner. So you talked about a framework.
Yes. Have a sense of stability, a time, manage it well, create opportunities for healing and reconciliation. That's so important. Yeah. And then this time of challenge will be a great impact on the poor and much greater on them than the rest of us. So we have to think about how we're going to reach out and sustain our poor people. The migrants, this time is going to be incredibly difficult for our migrants. Real hard for migrants. Yeah. So we have to think about not just me, my family, my community. We have to think about the least and the most vulnerable.
I think we have a call. Good night. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner.
Hello. Good night.
Good night. How are you doing?
Very nice conversation. But I want to make something on the government part as well. In that they are helping and bringing assistance.
Yes.
But the assistance is after this is the whole of Trinidad and Tobago have to pay back this assistance. So what I would like to suggest is that through my grace is that it's not a Trinidad and Tobago citizens problem. It's a all humanitarian problem in the 2 islands.
Yes.
And I see that they open the borders and they allow the Venezuelan and so on to come in. And they have their documents of statusship for the year. So I believe they should bring in all of those people into the helping hand as well. And not just them. All outside citizens who are in the country.
Absolutely.
Because it's a humanitarian thing.
Yes.
Because they will be paying rent, they will want food and all these sort of things.
Yes.
And I believe we should have all. because at the end of the day, all of us have to join to pay it back.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, brother. That's a wonderful point.
No, that's amazing because a lot
yeah.
of them were working in the bars and the restaurants,
and
which
contributing,
are now, right,
and contributing to society, and working and earning and sending back money to their family too,
and now they can't do anything.
No,
it's all shut down.
Exactly.
You know,
and we have to remember that the most socially vulnerable before this are even more isolated, more vulnerable now. And the brother said the migrants and the elderly, those in abusive homes, those without enough to eat on a daily basis or enough to pay their rent. We need extreme generosity from all citizens to address this part of our population, to ensure no one gets left behind. No one. And that's why the extreme generosity might start in self-regulation, but it must end in generous giving and inclusion of everyone. The least and the most vulnerable must be cared for.
We have another call. Good evening. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner.
Good evening and blessings to you.
How are you
my
doing?
Brothers. Two things I want to address, what His Excellency spoke of. The last point I want to go first, where he spoke about the children and the meditation.
Yes.
A couple of years I did a retreat, and I was shocked that the amount of children came to me after, and some of them asked a private prayer. And the second point is, you spoke about it earlier on, about helping. And something I reflected on something. A lady called on the radio station and said she can't go in the market, she can't do it. You see, the independent senior citizens, they're going to be in a problem when they want to do this. They want to go here. They're not getting to go to church. It's going to start to affect them psychologically.
Yes.
And this is where the experts and, well, I don't know how, with the distancing now, how people are going to help them, but it's those people I am worried about who cannot, I'll use one of your words, recalibrate and adjust themselves to the situation that's happening now because they want to get out of the house and they cannot move around. It's going to frustrate them and that will bring them down, bring them into that form of depression. And I wish people could get a helping hand somewhere.
Yes.
Have a blessed night, brothers. Take care.
Thank you so much. I mean, there's another thing with the elderly. I mean, I said to my mom, walk in the house or come out in the afternoon and walk the driveway. Walk up and down. If there's a space in the house, like the living room, walk around the table and come back, walk around the table and make a little loop. And again, it's important because they would have been active if they weren't cooped in.
Correct.
Now, if they're not active, they're going to lose mobility.
Yes.
So all of that are important.
You talked also about
education. That's a big one. Our children at home with no school. And some schools can do the online classes, others are not ready for that as yet. Some of the TV stations, thank God, are broadcasting classes. But this is going to impact the poorest children in a very negative way. And I'm putting people on warning now. Many people have 2 devices that they're sitting down in a shelf or cupboard and they're not using. A phone, a tablet, or a computer that might still be okay. I'm putting people on notice. I'm coming to you to ask you for those devices. Why? Because we have to get a device into the hands of every child in this nation so that the child in the country who does not have a device that they can use for education, that we can give them a device and help them to connect so that they at least could go download their lessons, work on it during the day, go back, upload, and go back again. Because the education piece is going to go longer than we would like. So we're going to put in your notice, if you know you're sitting down on a smartphone.
And people have them.
You know you're sitting down on a tablet.
Correct.
You know you're sitting down on a computer.
You exchange your 4, you now have a 6 or 8.
Go and get the 4.
Correct.
Dust it up, plug it in, make sure it's working, wipe it out so that it doesn't have your data in it, and get it ready because they're coming for it. And we have to have a device in the hand of every child, not just the Catholic schools, every child in this nation.
Amen.
Must have a device. When during the time of the lockdown, we're going to work a strategy, and so as soon as we open a little bit, we'll have points for you to drop it off, and we will check it and start redistributing to those who do not have right now.
Go pull it out. We have a call. Good evening. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner.
Hi, good night, Bishop. Good night, Deacon.
Good night.
Night.
I just want to take this opportunity to say thanks first, the Bishop, for the stand that you made that we could have mass life and to stay away from church, to help contain and to try to get to the flat line. I would also like to take this opportunity too to thank all my colleagues who are out there working and working very hard.
Yes.
I just want to say to you guys out there that we in North Central love each and every one of you in Northwest and Eastern and all the other parts of this country who are working very hard. And if you are hearing this out there, people, stay at home so we can be safe too, because you all are coming to us.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And we want to be safe too.
Yeah.
Right? So heed the call. Be very, very serious about this. Stay away from, gatherings. I'm still seeing people gathering, and it's like nothing,
Yes.
even though it was said this evening. So let us be very serious and take this serious. Love you guys out there in the field, and love you, Bishop.
Thank
and
you
I
so
love
much.
my Sunday Mass.
Excellent.
I have all my children be at the same Mass.
Amen.
Amen. Bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
So we need an experience to help this not become trauma for children, and to ensure that this is not traumatic for the families. Because the locking down, the enclosure, and the next 2 weeks are going to be more difficult. Huh?
Yeah.
And that's why it's important that we create some safe spaces for the children in the home. Create a little chapel. My grandmother had a chapel. Create a little chapel so that if a child is feeling a how, they could just go by the chapel and spend a little 3 minutes and go back to what they're doing. Create a time in the day where they could talk about what they're feeling. Invite them to take the feelings to God, and get them to trust God and to trust their family, that they can say what's happening and it's not bottled inside of them, but it's being expressed. And when they say their fears and difficulties and so, you don't hold hands. You say the Our Father, you offer it back to God. You tell them that you love them, that we are here and it's okay. We have to help the children through this, because this could be very traumatic for children.
As you were saying, that we don't fully understand the psychological effect, the trauma. We do have people who suffer with depression, anxiety.
Yes.
And I mean, this could be a real tough time. They're all bottled in.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And we shouldn't underestimate the stress with which we are living right now. Adults, you should find someone to speak to on a daily basis, especially if you're home alone or you're home alone with your children. Find somebody, an adult, that you can speak to on a daily basis to support you and you supporting them, so that you have the children time, but you have to have adult time too. And you have to have another adult, because you can't offload on the children and you can't bottle it in on yourself. And we are only now beginning what may be a very long and very demanding journey. So we have to put the safeguards in place up front, so that as we go deeper and deeper into this journey, we really have the resilience. And we create the resilience because we put the structures, we put the rituals in place, we've structured our day, we're doing the things that are helping each other talk about what's frightening and difficult. We're ritualizing with prayer, and so we have resilience now that we can go a longer time with this.
This is going to be a marathon. This is not a sprint.
There's not a sprint.
This is a long haul.
This is not a sprint.
But I see somebody is calling in.
Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome to Shepherd's Corner. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, good evening, Your Grace.
Good evening.
Deacon Derek.
Good evening.
I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you, Your Grace. Every day you come in at 9 o'clock and you give us courage for each day. I want to thank you for the education, for the spiritual guidance, and I pray God's mercies on you to continue.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much for that. And let's keep praying for each other, okay? Because it is in that prayer for each other that we think, I know there are many, many, many people praying for me. Huh?
Amen.
I know that. I feel it. And I feel that support from many, many people. Mm-hmm. And I keep telling them, please don't stop. All you do, just don't stop. Not now, not now, not now. Because this is going to be our most difficult time in terms of the nation. This is my most difficult time in terms of being a bishop. Yeah. I have to make decisions on a daily basis that are tough. Yeah. And I need wisdom. Because I need to have the mind of Christ in what we're doing for this church of ours. And so, thank you very much for that affirmation, that support, but let's keep praying for each other. Now, you know, extreme generosity as responsible citizens, the first generosity to which we are all called relates to civic responsibility. Remember we used to learn civics when we were in school? All right. We must all play our part. We should not need laws to stop us congregating or to stop corona parties and limes, to get people to observe proper hygiene and physical distances. We should not need laws for this. We should be grown up enough to understand the seriousness of what we're facing and act accordingly and keep ourselves responsible as citizens of this nation.
You live in a different country.
No.
You live in a different country, Archbishop G.
When you see I sit with the kids to do meditation, I do police. I sit and I pray. And I expect them to pray with me. And they never disappoint me. And that's the children.
Is the bigger children? Is the bigger children that we are worried about?
They do not disappoint me. And I'm expecting every citizen of this nation to do the responsible thing and to do the extreme generosity with responsibility, with civic responsibility thrown into that mix. That's my expectation of our country, our people, and our nation. That is my expectation. Deacon.
What do you all think about this, Archbishop? You think, boy, we had better pray plenty.
Pray.
You say we should not need laws. I think we need laws to ensure citizens do the right thing.
We should not need. But the fact that we need says to us where we are.
Yes.
I mean, everybody could know what is at stake here, and therefore we shouldn't have to do the lockdown to stop the congregating. We shouldn't have to have a state of emergency to stop people from coming out uselessly.
What about the hoarding?
Well, that's a whole other story.
Hoarding, I mean, you're going inside, and people coming out with plenty toilet paper. They hoard.
I know.
White toilet paper, we don't know.
That's a whole mystery, boy. That is a mystery. Catholics have always willed the best for the other. Now is the time not just to will it, this is the time to live it, this is the time to become it, and to pass that whole spirit on to the next generation. We have an incredible opportunity in this,
I think so.
To live our Catholic ideals and to demonstrate to the nation what living as a Catholic looks like. When there were plagues in Rome, the Catholics used to come out and care for the people and risk death. And because they cared for the people risking death, the plagues didn't have the ravage on the city. We have to risk again, but we have to risk it not because we want to break a law, but to ensure that everyone, the most vulnerable and the most needy, are receiving what they need during this time, and they're not left behind.
No one being left behind.
No one is left behind.
So you talk about businesses. Let's hear all the businesses now.
You know, we have to expect businesses to, we really, this price gouging, and I saw that some of the ministers came out on this. I think it's the worst form of sin, immorality, immature behavior that has ever existed. Some big businesses have raised prices uselessly. Now, some cases, new stock came in and prices went up. There's some cases of that. But there's some cases where they just raise prices because they see they could make a killing off of this. I saw a little cartoon, toilet paper by the roll, $700. A half a roll, $300. If you want a little bit, like a strip sew, well, that could be a $50.
Oh, God.
If you want it by the square, you could pay a $5. No, but the price gouging is really, we have to call that out. We have to socially shame anyone who is into price gouging. This is a time for every citizen to think of what is good for every other citizen, not to try and grab for me. This is a time for me to give back to everyone else. You're going to make money anyhow. People are going to be buying. They're going to need the stuff in your shop. You don't need to increase your prices. You don't need to do that.
So your call to all businesses is
do not take advantage of the poor, the fragile. Let us set an example for the rest of the nation to follow. No unfair price increase. If your landed price has increased legitimately and it's increased too much to absorb in selling it for the old price, okay, but you don't have to multiply that by make sure you make a profit. But at the same time, let's keep prices down so we don't have hyperinflation on top of a collapsing economy.
You see, we need extreme generosity from business owners towards their staff, from bankers towards those with loans, from landlords towards tenants, from spouses towards each other. Lord have mercy.
Yes, from parents towards their children, from all citizens towards one another. And in particular, we need extreme generosity to the most vulnerable in our country, in particular. So speak to everyone you know about the impact of COVID-19. Tell them what you know and tell them about the effects of their actions. That it is up to the citizen to assist in flattening the curve. The alternative is the death of many, including those that we care about, and we must never get there.
Lord have mercy.
And I think it's a time where parents and elders have to sit with the young and the young adult.
Yeah.
You see, the young and the young adult does not have any model in their mind for what we're experiencing. Eh? No life experience to help them to understand this. And the fact that they hear from everybody that they're not dying, well then, they're off the hook.
Yeah.
But they don't understand how their irresponsible actions will impact the actions of many other people, especially the elderly, especially the sick, especially the most vulnerable. This is a time to have that conversation. And if you have to start as a family and have the conversation with your young adult or your teenager, this is the time for the conversation so that they understand clearly what is at stake and what you expect of them. You have to say what you expect of them and why you expect it of them. Because they must understand what is this at odds, what's at stakes here. And they must understand that clearly. Now, the other thing that is really a challenge is the last time when we had a national disaster and they had a curfew from 6 to 6, that was the time for plenty of people to go and party. That model is a problem.
Yeah.
Because you can't use that model this time. You have to do the opposite. You have to isolate. You have to be in your house. You have to lock this down. So we must understand the science, yes, but we must understand what civic responsibility looks like. And extreme generosity, layered with extreme generosity, with a dose of extreme generosity, both in civic responsibility, my limiting my own actions, and my care for those in our society, and for the business community, extreme generosity by ensuring that we give a fair product for a fair price. We don't try to gouge and make extra money, and we ensure that we are socially responsible in giving back at this difficult time to those who do not have. There are many companies that have already put aside money for giving back to the poor. And that is the kind of civic responsibility and corporate social responsibility we have to see in this country. Finally, I know this is a most difficult time for us all. There's no public celebration of Mass. Eh? And a lot of people have church tabanka. A lot of people into church tabanka right now. And Jesus tabanka more than church, you know. Jesus, I can't have him.
Yeah.
So as we make sacrifice, for every song that you would sing at Mass, please offer prayer. For every hand you don't shake, please make a call to a neighbor to see how that person is doing.
Yeah. What's the key message?
We're all called to be generous citizens of this nation, with discipline and obeying the norms set out for us by our government, we will emerge a stronger nation. With extreme generosity, we will emerge a better people.
I really know we'll emerge a better. If
I
we
know
just
that.
follow it.
Yes.
What's the action step?
Observe prudence, restraint, and sacrifice. But most of all, let us express
Extreme generosity.
extreme generosity.
Now, with all of our conversations, you've always had a passage of scripture that you want us to meditate on.
Yes. And the Deuteronomy passage, go and look for it. It's a wonderful
I
text
read it.
that talks about
Yeah.
what it means to be a good citizen.
Yeah, yeah. A prayer.
Father, we thank you for your tremendous love.
Amen.
And we ask, oh God, that we may open wide our heart to you. And in these days, respond to you. That we may go to generosity upon generosity and encourage others to go in that direction also. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.